With that, our final two talking points today, and dare I say they're both related to the Boston Bruins. Let me collect myself real quickly as Tuukka Rask has officially retired at the age of 34, primarily due to a hip surgery that he had to have last year. And it was one of the things that was somewhat noticeable is that, you know, after not getting those warm-up games in Providence, maybe, just maybe, he wasn't quite at 100%. Did he need more time to warm up? And it's just kind of now been a general thing of it probably won't matter how much warm-up time there is. Like, we literally saw this exact same situation with Ben Bishop earlier this season, which sucks. Man.
These numbers are absolutely insane. I can't believe there was that cadre of Boston fans for years who wanted to get rid of Tuukka Rask and who blamed him for the not success, because these numbers are ridiculous.
So I did write down a lot of numbers for you guys to look at here. With Tuukka Rask, and I don't even know where to start. Like, I could just start with the numbers, but man, just you're talking about a former Stanley Cup champion. You're talking about a former Vezina winner, former NHL All-Star, like just one of the best goalies of his generation. And I think these numbers I'm about to read off will prove that. NHL history, in the entirety of the NHL, minimum 300 games played. We're looking at save percentage. Dominik Hasek finishes with a .922. Ken Dryden at a .922. Tuukka Rask, .921. Save percentage might not be everyone's end-all be-all. He is literally right there with the likes of Dominik Hasek and Ken Dryden. This number was put out by Top Down Hockey. Jay Fresh shared this one. Not everyone prefers this model for goals saved above expected, but we're looking at GSAX leaders from 2007 to 2022, Tuukka Rask's career. Carey Price leads the way at a 118.4, which is insanity. Carey Price, by this definition, literally stopped or robbed 118 shots that should have been goals. Tuukka is second at a 106.8. So Carey at a 118, Tuukka at a 106. The next highest is Freddie Anderson at a 97.3. That is how far above Rask and Price are in that metric above the rest. And Roberto Luongo was at a 95, Bobrovsky a 90, Henrik Lundqvist only at a 90 in that time.
Roberto, though, is that, like, it says from 07 to 22, so
basically it would have stopped,
yeah,
you know, like when he retired.
Okay, yeah. Got it.
So obviously he was the oldest goalie of the bunch there, but still, that's how good Luongo was towards like the back half of his career, in a sense, his prime in the back half. He was still that great.
Yeah.
Tuukka Rask's final rankings in Bruins history. Games played for goaltenders, first. Wins for goaltenders, first with 308. Shutouts, second. And he's not going to catch, I'm pretty sure it's fucking Tiny Thompson that has that record, who played in fucking World War II, for God's sakes. Like, just, hockey was incredibly fucking different back then. Like, you're not going to catch that. Save percentage, he's tied for first all time. Most amount of saves in team history. Goals against average, second. Playoff games played, first. Playoff wins, first. Playoff save percentage, second. He is, for all intents and purposes, the greatest goaltender in Boston Bruins history. And it is just such a kick in the dick to know that he's retired. He's at least being able to retire in a sense on his terms. But to your point, before we get into the other two topics here regarding Rask, and I've seen this statement out there, how many people outside of Boston don't think that Tuukka Rask was good? That number has to be so small.
Yeah.
I have very rarely ever heard a Florida Panthers fan be like, oh yeah, no, Tuukka Rask is shit.
Yeah.
Or an Avs fan, oh, Tuukka Rask is shit. You just don't hear that. It's been said, I'm sure, but in terms of like a general consensus, that's just not something you would hear. And the biggest pain in the ass for me, obviously there's two things. Number one, the people who are like, oh yeah, no, Tuukka was only good because of the defense behind him. And I went off on Twitch for people that dared try to claim that like, oh yeah, no, Rask was only good because of the team in front of him. Yes. Was Chara there? Yeah. Was Johnny Boychuk there? Yeah. Adam McQuaid? Sure. You know who else was on those Bruins defensive units while Tuukka Rask was the starter? David Warsofsky, Zach Trotman, Corey Potter, Andre Mazzaros, did I say Matt Bartkowski already? I'll fucking say it again. Matt Bartkowski, Joe Morrow. Like, dude, like the idea that like Tuukka was only good because of the defense. John Michael Lyles was a fucking Bruin. Matt Irwin. Like, where is this narrative that there was always this elite fucking defense? Like, that's not true at all. Like, that does not exist.
Miller, baby.
I didn't mention Kevin Miller because I love Kevin Miller. I thought Kevin Miller at his time was great. The only time Kevin Miller wasn't great was when the Bruins were trying to force him to be a top pair defenseman with Zdeno Chara, and Kevin Miller was not that. But you move Kevin Miller onto the third pair and let him just truck people. GG's, bravo all day.
I liked it. Well, Kevin Miller did score a pretty brilliant, like, a goal that made him look like an offensive defenseman against the Sharks once. It made me laugh so hard. Like he just went.
Bruins defensive defenseman had that ability. The Zdeno Chara spinorama goal against the Florida Panthers comes to mind.
Oh, then the Vlasic goal where he fucking scores and then as he's diving onto the ice on like in overtime.
I remember that actually. Unfortunately for Tuukka Rask, as Sin alluded towards, for whatever reason, and we all know the reason, there's a lot of people in the Bruins fandom that never gave Tuukka Rask credit. Said, oh, the Bruins should get rid of him, trade him, get rid of him. Comes down to one thing, obviously, Tim Thomas. Tim Thomas went on this incredible run in 2011 in the aftermath of the Bruins blowing it the years prior. You look back at the 2007-2008 Boston Bruins. What happened with them, you might ask? Well, they blew it to Montreal in round number 1. That is what happened. But people forget that Tim Thomas was the goalie in that series. Interesting. 2008-2009, what happens? The Bruins beat the Montreal Canadiens in a round 1 sweep. And then they play Carolina and lose it in Game 7. Who was the goalie in that playoff run? Oh, it was Tim Thomas. Weird. So then 2009-2010 comes around, and the Bruins beat the Buffalo Sabres in 6 games in round number 1, and then they play the Philadelphia Flyers and get reverse swept. Tuukka Rask was the goaltender for that. He was. And then the next year comes around, the Bruins win the Stanley Cup. Tim Thomas goes on arguably the best goaltending run of all time. There are very, very few players who can possibly rival a .940 save percentage in 25 games. Absurd. But from that moment on, Tuukka Rask isn't good enough. Tim Thomas blew it twice before the Flyers collapse, but because Tim Thomas won in 2011, that is the comparison for Tuukka Rask. And it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It is. Because the very next year, 2012, Stanley Cup champions back in the playoffs. You're going up against the Washington Capitals. You lose in the first round in 7. Who was the goalie? Tim Thomas. 2012-13, Tim Thomas is gone. And Tuukka Rask is the goaltender in a lockout-shortened season. The Boston Bruins go to the Stanley Cup final. Tuukka Rask has, what's this number? A .940 save percentage. Didn't Tim Thomas have that too? Tuukka Rask has a .940 save percentage but they blow it to Chicago on home ice in Game 6 because the team in front of him fucking said, "Job done, boys." And Chicago said, "There's 17 seconds left, you dumb fucks." And Chicago put their foot on the gas, pedal to the fucking metal, and they won that cup. Stole it right out from under them. There should have been a Game 7, but the team in front of Tuukka quit. Tuukka didn't fucking give up. Look at those goals. But it's all Tuukka's fault. Tim Thomas did it in 2011. Why couldn't Tuukka bail out a team that quit in front of him? That had their sights set on Game 7 already. Instead of finishing up the final minutes, you needed a minute to not give up the tying goal and then the winning goal. But that's all the goaltender's fault, huh? 2013-14. Bruins make the playoffs again, lose to Montreal in Game 7. All Tuukka's fault, according to some people, I am sure. He had a .928 in those 12 playoff games that year.
That's insane.
Yes, that is the year that Milan Lucic said he was going to kill Dale Weiss in the handshake line, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
And then what happens? It catches up to them. You went for it. You went all in. It catches up to you. You got to strip pieces away. Johnny Boychuk gets traded to the Islanders. Other moves take place. The Bruins missed the playoffs in 2014-15. They missed the playoffs in 2015-16, but then draft David Pastrnak. 2016-17, they make it. They lose to Ottawa in 6. Erik Karlsson's fucking flip pass. Go ahead.
I said, who'd they draft, though?
Oh, in 2015, we don't talk about that. Tuukka Rask in that playoff series against the Ottawa Senators had a .920 save percentage in those 6 games. Yeah. It's not like Tuukka Rask shit the bed. 2017-18, they lose to Tampa Bay in round 2 of the playoffs. Tuukka Rask, and I'm going to keep going, save percentage. This was the first time he struggled. He had a .903 in 12 appearances in that 17-18 playoff.
Still better than Martin Jones. I remember seeing Bruins fans say they should have kept Jones. I remember literally seeing fans of that say, I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Like, sure, let's trade Rask for Jones 1-for-1. Holy crap, the Sharks team would have won a cup.
Right. Every single season I have mentioned, Tuukka Rask was either not in goal or not the problem up until they start missing the playoffs because the cup, the additions for the cup run, it takes its toll. You can't hold on to everybody. And then you get to that 17-18 run, and that's where he finally doesn't look like Tuukka Rask in the playoffs. The next year, 24 games played in the cup run going up against St. Louis. Tuukka Rask had a .934. But it's his fault they lost the cup on home ice in Game 7 to St. Louis.
Yeah, because
get fucked.
There's that awkward first goal or something that was deflected from way out and everyone felt he should have.
Yeah, the Brad Marchand line change.
Oh my God, I can't believe
God.
Right at the end of the first period, and then they shit the bed. They didn't score a goal on home ice in Game 7. If they did, they scored 1. I try not to think about it. But that's Tuukka's fault. .934 save percentage? Why wasn't it a .945, Tuukka? Come on. For whatever reason, these idiots, and every fan base has their idiots, we are well aware. For whatever reason, though, that just became the narrative. It's Tuukka's fault. .929 save percentage in the 1920 run that also saw them lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning. 2021, they lose to the New York Islanders in round 2. Tuukka Rask, .913 save percentage, a little bit uncharacteristic. Actually, that was the regular season. In the playoffs, he had a .919, even better. Not amazing. There is literally one playoff run that can be contributed to Tuukka Rask not being Tuukka Rask. Fucking one. Every other time he delivered and the team in front of him failed. Oh, but he had the audacity to leave the bubble because he heard his fucking child is in the hospital.
I respect him more because of that, man. I do.
He is the greatest goaltender in fucking team history. And I hate so much that this goddamn conversation even needed to be brought up in terms of explaining, because I don't believe that anybody, either of you two or fan bases from anybody outside of Boston, need to have it explained as to just how fucking good Tuukka Rask was. He was never the problem with the Boston Bruins failing to win another cup after 2011. He never was. He is also not the reason as to why they failed. It wasn't, oh, Tuka failed time and time again, and then Timmy came home in 2011. That's not true. You heard me read it off. Thomas was the one that blew it prior to 2010. To those people, they never deserved to have a goaltender like Tuukka Rask. They didn't. And I would hate to see what those Bruins fans would be doing or saying if they had to deal with, no offense, Martin Jones as their goaltender in the Sharks Cup run. Having to deal with, God, I mean, Endo, I don't even have to sit here and talk to you about some of the goaltenders the Leafs have tried to trot out there. No disrespect to James Reimer. Imagine some of the other goaltending displays that these teams have seen, but Tuukka Rask was the problem. Those people are out of their fucking skulls and need psychological help because they are so disconnected from reality. It is staggering. The question now for Tuukka Rask. Oh, by the way, Endo, you ready for that surprise stat I told you about for Tuukka Rask? You might have seen it on Twitter.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Tuukka Rask retires with the most career wins by a Toronto drafted goaltender in history.
Fuck off. Fuck you.
No goaltender ever drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs has won more NHL games than Tuukka Rask.
My brain. We get it.
There are two questions.
Who'd they trade him for again? Justin Pogge or something?
Fucking Raycroft. Andrew
Might as
fucking
well have been
Raycroft.
Justin Pogge.
Basically.
It was because they wanted to keep Justin Pogge.
Oh, yeah.
And to be fair, Pogge was good for like a minute. And then he just fell off, plus ratio, plus you play in Europe now.
He has that
Justin
great
Pogge.
AHL highlight, though, when he's just whipping his fucking stick against the board and the announcer's going insane. Oh, and Pogge's losing his mind!
Oh my god.
Same thing as Tuukka Rask throwing the milk crate in Providence.
Our AHL announcer at the time I hated his voice so much. I hated it so much. I couldn't watch like early Marlies games because of it. Anyways, go back to the rant, Tougie.
For the record, that Tuukka Rask trade happened in June of 06 for Andrew Raycroft. In June of 06, Justin Pogge was fresh off of a .926 save percentage campaign with the Calgary Hitmen. They read it wrong, but it wasn't the worst read of all. It was, at the time, it was okay. Like, Rask was coming off a great World Junior performance. I don't think they had to make a choice, but, you know, I could at least see the logic. Tuukka Rask and whether or not he'll get his number retired by the Boston Bruins. No goaltender in Bruins history has had their number retired by the team. Not one. As shocking as that is, because you'd almost think that they would have retired Tim Thomas's number. You would almost think that Tiny Thompson would have had his number retired. Frank Brimsick, Eddie Johnston, Jerry Cheevers all played over 400 games for the team. Thomas played almost 400 and won the cup, but they have never retired a number for a goaltender. They have to break that for Tuukka Rask. They fucking have to. It would be a goddamn shame if Tuukka Rask does not get his number retired by the Boston Bruins. If there was a goaltender to do it, you heard me read off those stats. Tuukka Rask is the best goaltender in Bruins history. If you make an all-time Bruins team and you don't put Tuukka Rask in there, you are probably wrong. Your only argument is Tim Thomas 2011. Again, Tim Thomas did not have the consistency. Not even close. The other argument, and this one is where you guys can more interject because it's a conversation that we've had before, and it's a larger discussion to be had that we don't have to have today because we still have to talk about something else. Whether or not Tuukka Rask makes the Hall of Fame, and look, I don't know if he does, because as we have talked about on this show, the Hockey Hall of Fame is incredibly restrictive when it comes to goaltenders. For whatever reason, it just is. But I listed off those numbers earlier, and you know what? Let's get a reminder here for everybody about the list of Hockey Hall of Fame members and who happen to be goaltenders. The only goaltenders in the Hockey Hall of Fame And it's a pretty short list, all things considered. 2020, Kim St. Pierre. 2018, Martin Brodeur. 2016, Rogi Vachon. 2014, Dominic Hasek. That's it in the last decade for goaltenders.
Yeah.
You have Ed Belfour, Patrick Waugh, Grant Fuhrer, Billy Smith. That brings us back to 1993. There have been 8 goaltenders inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in my lifetime. It raises the question of what we're going to see with the likes of Luongo, who does not have a cup. Granted, the cup isn't the end-all be-all. Dominic Hasek made it in. But Luongo, Lundqvist, Price, Tuukka Rask is in that conversation, whether you fucking like it or not. I'm intrigued to see which one of those goaltenders make it in or how many of them make it in because, yeah, if it's up to me, Luongo, Lundqvist, Price, Rask, they're all Hockey Hall of Famers in my opinion. Flat out.
Yeah, hard to disagree. It's kind of weird how restrictive that is to like for the goaltenders. It's like they always get the brunt of it. They're always the scapegoat, and then they never get credit. Like,
yeah,
unless they go on those freak runs. But like Tim Thomas said, but at the same time, like, the team was also good. You need to put pucks in the net as well. Like it's just weird. Like, huh?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who makes it. And again, that's a conversation I'm sure we'll have over the next couple of years as a lot of these guys, obviously Luongo's been retired for a couple of years now. His name will be coming up soon. And then obviously over the next decade, we'll get into the conversation about Lundqvist, about Rask, about Price, and who ends up making it, why or why not. So, but Tuukka Rask, God damn it. It sucks to see him go. But, you know, I think maybe the Bruins kind of sensed this coming when they signed Linus Hallmark to the deal that they gave him. And, of course, they have Jeremy Swayman, so they are not completely boned in terms of goaltending, which is nice.